everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again on this month's episode of Boys and Girls Club's Clubcast. I am Marissa Gleockler, and today I'm joined by two incredible team members of ours who have been working really hard on our Voices program, a program that you're going to hear all about. So I want to introduce you first to Miss Kayla. She is our Director of Youth Development. She has been dedicated to this program for quite some time now, building it up, getting it going. And then with her, we also have one of our youth development advocates, Miss Lavia, and she's going to be able to tell you a little bit about her experience with the youth directly, really boots on the ground in this program. So to get started, I'll start with you, Kayla. If you can just tell us who you are, what you do with the organization, and how this position came to be.
Sure. So I started with Boys and Girls Club back in 2022. In the attendance, A+ attendance department as an advocate, and I was there for a little over a year, and Linda brought the opportunity to me to work on the Voices program, and so I started on that just last year, and I've really just seen the program grow and blossom, and so
awesome.
It's been great.
And what about you, Lavia?
I started with Voices around February.
Okay.
So I'm not really the first one, but a few. The few that first started. I have a background in psychology. I'm a psychology graduate. I'm focusing right now on getting my master's and learning more with clinical psychology and adolescents.
Okay.
So it's really for my career that I really want to work with the mental health within our youth in our community.
So I know you said you're getting your education in youth-related psychology, but have you had youth experiences in your career before Boys and Girls Clubs?
Yes, of course. I was a registered behavior technician.
Oh, wow.
And then I did work as a substitute with St. Lucie County.
Nice.
So I have a background with that, yes.
Okay, so you kind of know our schools and stuff firsthand. Okay, very cool. And then with A+, that's another program that it's a specialized program. We don't talk about it as much as we should. Doing some awesome things. Maybe touch on that just a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in my time in A+, I originally had 3 schools that we worked with, and then I got promoted to lead attendance advocate, and I took on a 4th school, and really just focusing on, engaging the parents and explaining the importance of attendance and really what they're missing out on when they're not in school. It's not just an education. They're missing those foundational skills, just forming those relationships and just really, helping them shape to be who they are.
And how do you think that position helped you with this position? Like, how did that transition happen?
So I think getting into the programming in A+ really helped me establish my role in Boys and Girls Club as being an outreach person and really learning what it means to be present and just form those relationships and form the rapport. And working with the school social workers and the guidance counselors, we had monthly meetings to discuss our students and what that looks like, and focusing on reaching out to the parents and providing any support that we can to help strengthen that relationship and the gap, because a lot of times the parents maybe don't communicate with the teachers, and they don't have that rapport, and so they don't talk about it, and so we're able to establish that rapport and fill that gap to help support them in any way needed. Even as simple as just having a conversation about transportation, basic needs, clothing, toiletries. So we were able to provide that, and so I got to work with the social workers and really kind of prepare myself for this role now, and building that cooperation within the school district. So,
well, before we go too much further, I want to talk about Voices itself and just as a whole, because a lot of times, honestly, I'll be out and I'll be talking about it, and people are like, "Oh, a singing program," and I'm like, "Well, no, not quite." But so, what is Voices? What is the program meant to do for our youth? What is the core purpose of the program?
So Voices, our slogan is "Let Yours Be Heard." So it's really just giving our members the chance to speak their minds and talk about things that they don't typically talk about with, either our club staff or their parents. So giving them the chance to open up and really just find out kind of their day-to-day struggles, right? And it was founded, or envisioned, I should say, by our COO, Linda Soto, and she entrusted me with her vision, and I'm so grateful to really just kind of take it and see where we can go with it. And overwhelming outpour of information that we've received just in the past few months has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
So just, taking life skills, resiliency, building on those foundational skills and just allowing them to grow and see kind of where it takes them. So, so far we've had, I think, well over 100 members that are engaging, and, age range from 3rd grade to high school. And I know Miss Lovey has, middle school population, which is, a roller coaster in and of itself.
Yeah.
So I'll let her talk about her experience a little bit.
Yeah.
So working with middle school, I didn't know what to expect, but I had an idea. I know that this generation is completely different. It's a whole different shift. I know that social media is a big impact with their identity and how they are. So I didn't really know what to expect, but while going in, I went in with an open mind. And one thing that I've noticed is our youth really needs support. We can talk about mental health as much as we want, but without them having that support, that person that, hey, something's going on, who can I go to? Most of them do not entrust their friends. They'll even tell you. She might go tell someone else. She might tell a rumor. So when I came in and I'm letting them know I can be that support for you, they were very hesitant. They were not like, oh yeah, let's just go and tell her my life story. No, but while building that relationship with them, for me being there consistently, talking to them, letting them know that, hey, I used to be a teen too. I understand things happen. I know that, things can go wrong. If you don't have to be in it alone. And boy, did that change how they express themselves, how they talk. I've had many who will come tell me the most outrageous stories, but because they're so comfortable with me now and knowing that, hey, she won't judge me, she understands, she will support me, they are full force going on, and most of them will show up and say, why weren't you here yesterday, Miss Lovey? I had something to say. And it's so great to see the shift from when I came in, and most of them were just like, I don't know you. To now, where are you? I need you right now.
And how do you identify which kids might need that additional support? Is it something that they express and that's how you approach them, or how does that work?
Sometimes you'll have some of them who will express themselves, but the majority, you have to have that, I wouldn't say full background, but a background of saying, why are you so quiet today? You're not usually sad, you're usually upbeat, you're up usually having fun. So it's really having a form of a second eye to observe, because sometimes they're not outright going to tell you something's wrong. So really, one thing that I've came to do is, hi, good morning, how are you? How's your day? How's your weekend? How's it going? Most of the time, if they don't answer, I know something's going on. I can have that second sense of, okay, I might need to talk to her or him or stuff.
Right.
But it's really that, having that second sense to understand them, yes.
And now, are you in one club? Are you in multiple clubs? How does that work?
I'm in multiple clubs.
Okay.
So I see most of them twice a week, which some of them are not happy about. But, I feel like it's great that I can go to different clubs and experience different adolescents and not just one. And it's great for me too to have that experience, so I know okay, I worked with this one, she didn't like this, or he didn't like this, so next time if I'm working with someone who's similar, I can probably do a different way or shift a different way.
Right. Yes. And we've seen even a lot of our teens and some of our younger members as well, they'll tell you straight up that mental health is something they care about and something that is a problem. More and more it's being talked about, and I feel like even in our Youth of the Year program, we've seen a lot of youth come forward and use that as their platform and something to talk about. Do you feel like because this generation is more aware of that mental health need, that they are more willing to accept the guidance?
Yes, of course. I have them literally telling me, if somebody doesn't want your support, they just don't understand. Or because they know the importance of it. There are some that, are stubborn, but it's not their fault. It's really they've never had someone that they actually trust. They probably told somebody something and this person spread a rumor or did something, so it's really a little pushback for them. But in general, they're very much open to help and support. They just want the consistency.
And what kind of, obviously you guys are in the the clubs, you're having these conversations, you're building those relationships. But I also hear that you guys do some fun activities and things like that, yoga and painting and all kinds of fun things. So talk to me a little bit about that.
My favorite one that I just recently did with them is Paint Your Emotions.
Oh.
So the movie Inside Out, I asked them, do you remember what color joy was, fear, and all the other different emotions? And they're like, yeah. And so I took those colors, and I told them, how you've been feeling for the past week or a few days, take those colors and create a masterpiece.
Wow.
And they did so awesome. I even wanted to create a competition, which I am, where each school picked their best painting, and then they'll go against each other to see which one is the
Okay,
best.
very cool.
So yes, they had a lot of fun with it. Even some of the ones that did not want to do it, right when they I'm engaging with them. Oh, you didn't like Inside Out? That was like my favorite movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm talking to, and they're like, you know what? Yeah, I want to do it. Yeah. And they'll engage.
Yeah.
They just want something relatable.
Yeah. So then do they take that a step further and then talk about it?
Yes.
Okay.
They will explain their painting. I don't make them go ahead and do it in public. If they want to, they can. But most of them, I had one where they explained how their emotions were in the painting, and it just literally made me so teary because I felt like she finally felt how to express herself.
Yeah.
And she did wonderful.
Wow. That's really awesome. And those are things that you don't think to necessarily do, but I can see also maybe parents taking on some of these things you're doing and connecting that in the home activities and having, using those resources as ways to open the door for conversation, which is just amazing.
Exactly.
And you're with middle school?
Yes.
Okay, so Kayla, then you probably see a little bit with the elementary and the high school too, and how the differences come into play. I'm sure each age comes with its own challenges, and it's
Definitely.
You're faced with different problems. So what do you see as the need? Is there a need that's across the board? Is it very segmented? How do you see that?
So I think the need is definitely broad. We definitely have different struggles based on their age groups. Our middle school is really focused on helping them build those foundational skills for high school and transitioning and what that looks like, especially in our K through 8s where they may have been in the same school for 8 years and now they're stepping into a different realm, just a different world for them. So really tailoring our programming to their needs and finding ways to engage them. What works for some doesn't work for all. So really just trying to figure out their interests and making it fun, but also educational and resourceful. So our elementary school, incorporating art therapy and things like that. We just made friendship bracelets this week, and we're focusing on positive affirmations and just allowing them to express themselves even at such a young age. We're seeing that the need is there, and starting at a younger age we can be proactive instead of reactive and help them build those skills to hopefully prevent those traumatic life events and ACEs in the future. So reaching them at a younger age I think is just going to be more beneficial, whereas in high school I feel like we are hitting those traumatic events face on. So it's a little more day-to-day, case-by-case, and really focusing on what their needs are. And we're working on engaging the parents and the families to help them, establish what that looks like at home, because we can teach, our members those coping skills, but we want to spread that to the families by doing parent nights, parent discussions. I've worked a lot with our club directors and our club staff, and they have been so beneficial in helping us identify the members that would really benefit from our programming. So they have been just amazing and so supportive, and I couldn't be more grateful for the support we've received.
And have you seen a lot of parent engagement? Do you see the interest there from the parent side?
Definitely. We do have one-on-one referrals that we can do with our members, so most of our programming is groups, but we do have one-on-ones. So I just met with a parent the other day and for a one-on-one referral, and her response was, yes, please. She absolutely loves you. She comes home and talks about you all day.
Oh,
so
that's
it was
awesome.
So humbling for me, you know, just to hear that and see the impact that we're having, and just the overwhelming support and appreciation for my staff has been, I know she said when she said her members were not happy that she's there 2 days, it's because they want her every day. And the same response has been from our staff is, how do we get them more? And I've had staff reaching out that we don't have advocates in yet. Right now we have 18 Voices sites in BGC, but I have probably almost all requesting for
Wow.
voices.
Wow.
So we're really hoping, as we grow and our programming grows, to be able to really reach,
Right.
more members and just our overall community in St. Lucie.
And man, have you grown.
Yeah.
You have experienced some major growth in the recent history, in the last few months even.
Yeah.
And that's thanks to a lot of different partnerships and grants and things like that. I know Children's Services Council is a big one that we talk
Yes.
about. There's a lot of other players that support this program. And the fact that you guys are working with the schools and the families and the club staff too, I think it's just a very holistic approach, which is something I know on this show we've talked about a lot in a lot of different ways, and it just adds to that. How do you feel like the growth in the program is going to impact our club staff? Because you mentioned that you have a lot that have expressed interest. How do you think it impacts their day-to-day, and how do you think it's making it easier on them?
So I think by having an extra staff that is dedicated to working on those things, where we have a lot of members, they don't get, unfortunately, that one-on-one time a lot, and so having someone there that can provide additional support, or if we have a member that's just having an off day, they can be identified and, hey, let's take some time to sit down and really talk about those issues, and just really be an extra support. And I think the club staff and our directors and our area directors have just been, really responsive and saying, hey, I have this member, or reaching out saying, hey, we're working on this week. How do we incorporate that? Just finding ways to bring all of our programming together.
Right.
And, you can share some of your experiences.
Yeah.
Yes. One thing that I noticed was I had two parents who really are enjoying the program. And they're literally responsive towards every time that I'm there. They're like, is she here today? Can I talk to her? How was the session?
Yeah.
I have one of those parents who are experiencing a loss, and they are not aware of what to do, how to communicate with their child about this. And so me being there, she'll tell me, like, this is what happened,
right.
What can you do? And I will, discuss what I find in the session, and I'll discuss with her and, them, and, try to see what's going on. Same thing about the other parent, where she didn't know how to do positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement, and so she would ask for advice, and I'm there, and after the one-on-one, I'll let her know, like, this is what's going on, this is that, and those good things. So I feel like it's a good experience for both the children and the parents so far.
And it just provides an additional resource. Therapy and things like that are becoming more and more common and more and more talked about. But it can also be a very expensive, resource, and I can definitely see how parents might use this as a way to learn and grow as a parent. A lot of times I feel like you're faced with situations that you don't anticipate being faced with.
Exactly.
So that's amazing. And I want to go back to elementary school kids for a second, because I think if you're not a parent, and maybe if you're not hands-on with kids every day, you're like, what does an elementary school kid have to worry about, So what kind of problems are facing our younger kids, and maybe some things that people might not be aware of?
Sure. So I know we've talked about, the idea of mental health. There's been a negative stigma surrounding mental health, and, our members, even at such a young age, are displaying, more what's like introverted behavior. They're not expressing those feelings. So I think, bullying, social media, they're not engaging with each other as much. Whereas I know when we were younger, we were outside all the time, and we weren't on our phones. We weren't, behind a computer for the most part. And so really focusing on their communication skills and building those relationships, even with one another. I know Miss Nakia, one of my advocates, she had 2 girls who did not get along, and she paired them together for a respect building experience, and by the end they were friends, and they had breakfast together. But these are things that they wouldn't have known. We have to push them a little bit out of their comfort zones, and allow them to see that they might have interests with someone that they don't know. And so I know a few of us have done an activity where you have them stand on opposite sides, and then they step forward when they have like a this or that thing, and they see that they do have common interests with someone that they wouldn't have known.
Right.
And so just really helping them learn how to talk about their feelings. And it could be something as simple as, you know, when I get there and they come sit down across from me with their head down. And I'm like, a rough day? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, you let me know when you're ready to talk about it. But they have been so responsive, and they seek our attention. I mean, they, you know, when I'm not there for a day, where were you? And I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, but they look forward to us being there.
That's awesome.
And they really, you know, you'd be surprised the amount of information they share. And you said before, some of them have no filter, and they just tell you matter of fact, you know, whatever it is. If they don't like an activity, they tell you. You know, they can be abrupt. So really just, you know, trying to help them grow those communication skills and empathy, you know, respect, coping skills, and just, you know, at a foundational level, because that's just going to grow, hopefully, you know.
And you take that feedback and you cater it from there, the program.
So we're definitely still growing as a program, and you know, every day we're learning new skills and, you know, new tools for our tool belt, and just really building on what we've learned and what we've experienced. And I think that just will help us continue to grow and be able to adapt and think on our feet. And, you know, maybe you had a session planned for the day and a member's in crisis, and you have to reframe, and you have to be able to, you know, change your plan and really just be able to adapt to the situation.
Exactly.
And you guys have both mentioned social media and tech and things like that, and that's another thing we've seen boom in the last couple of years is with AI and just digital literacy being a much more common conversation. Have you seen things shift in your experiences working with youth, having more presence of social media?
I believe so. I mean, we're living in a time where you can get millions of contents in a second. So one thing I've noticed is when I am trying to do programming, they'll be on their phones. But right when I'm like, hey guys, we're gonna do something, it's like they snap out of it. They were in a trance, and now they're like, okay, what's next? But sometimes you will notice that they just want the attention past the phones. Like if you just hand them a phone, of course they're going to be like, okay, let me go on it. But if you create activities, if you create programs for them where they're hands-on, they might give you a little pushback in the beginning, but after they notice that it's fun or something that they're interested in or related to, they would definitely go and you know, participate as much as possible. I noticed that most of my girls, they compare themselves to social media a lot. So doing that confidence boosting type of programs, they notice like, okay, some of them will be reluctant, like, am I really pretty? I'm like, yes. Look in the mirror. Don't look at social media. Look in the mirror. Forget that it exists. So really, social media is playing a huge impact on these kids. I feel like they're becoming individualistic because of it. And, you know, it's making them feel less.
And do you think that goes across the board, younger kids too?
Of course. I've seen younger kids sometimes act as if they're middle schoolers. Sometimes they speak to you as if they're middle schoolers. Sometimes they're saying things so outrageous, you're like, how do you know that? Where did you get this information? And it's most likely social media. And a big thing that we talk about in Boys and Girls Clubs is safety, and that goes across the board with all things, including digital safety, physical safety, of course. And I feel like the Voices program as a whole kind of contributes to the idea of safety within the clubs, providing a safe place and things like that. Is that something that you guys talk about in your department with your advocates? Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I would say allowing them to have that safe place, and you know, we've talked about like trauma-informed care and you know, doing trauma-informed care trainings and being that person. Like, you would be so surprised that if you ask our members, one of our advocates might be that person for them, where you know, maybe they didn't have that before. And so giving them the opportunity to have a safe person and to be in a space where they do feel safe, even in a group setting. I mean, we're, you know, engaging in smaller groups. That way we can give our attention, you know, in bigger spurts, and then having the opportunity to do those one-on-ones it's really eye-opening, and even in group they may share something that you wouldn't have expected.
Yeah.
But one-on-ones, I think, is really where you kind of get the vulnerability.
Yeah.
And they open up in a way that I think we didn't even expect. So.
And I'm glad you mentioned the trauma-informed care, because that leads to a question of what kind of backgrounds and what kind of trainings do our advocates need to have in order to do this successfully with our kids?
Yeah, so that's something I'm working on with my team, is getting more trainings and basics of trauma. I just completed myself, and just allowing them the opportunity to learn and grow as well. So providing more trainings, providing presentations and ways for them to grow. So obviously mental health is our focus, and resiliency, and allowing them to build their skills will just allow us to broaden our scope even more.
Yeah.
And so providing as many trainings and supports that I can to help them do their job.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think what staff development, I should say, not youth development, is something we talk about a lot within Boys and Girls Clubs. Professional development and making sure that we're all trained and able to help these kids when they need it is so important. And so I'm really glad to hear that all your advocates are receiving those opportunities. Yeah. What's next for this program? I mean, you guys are growing like crazy. You've seen so much growth. Do you have plans to serve more clubs? What's next?
Definitely. Our grant writer, Mr. Tom, is writing grants every day. Excuse me. Faster than I can keep up.
Yeah.
But we are really focusing on adding more supports to our program, and also adding more clubs to our programming. And we are focusing right now on adding elementary to our programming, opening up the scope to start at kindergarten. Because we're seeing, even in my experience, I have kindergartners that are, as soon as they get there, they come running over to me and they ask if they can sit with me, because they just want someone to talk to.
Wow.
So as early as kindergarten, they're expressing, and I think they're noticing that they just want someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was just that person.
Yeah.
And I felt so fortunate to be that person, but just really focusing on, our progression and seeing how it grows. I'm so excited and so grateful to be in this position.
Yeah.
And I think there's just a lot of room for growth. And I think as we continue to expand, I hope we can service all our clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the ultimate goal, and probably was the goal from the very beginning, right? Is to serve all kids who need it. And summer, I'm assuming we're going to be running over summer?
We will be over summer. Yes,
Okay.
definitely. So we'll be in all 6 of our neighborhood clubs and Okamic. Miss Levy will be at Okamic over the summer.
Nice.
And I know Miss Rashawn is so excited to have her. So we definitely have a lot of plans for summer coming.
Awesome.
And we're working on our programming, and really just trying to find ways that is fun for them to engage, but also still making sure that they're getting those needed supports and skills.
Well, that is so awesome, and I'm really grateful that I got to speak with you guys today. I know this is a program that does not get talked about as much as it should, and it's so important for our youth, especially with the uptick of mental health, and just that being such a prevalent topic now, not only with us as youth advocates and youth development professionals, but with our kids as well. So I really appreciate you both. And if anyone wants to get more information on our Voices program or any of our programs, please visit our website, and I will see you next month.